You're listening to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum focused and dedicated 100% to sales development. If you care about growing your skills and getting more new sales appointments, pipeline, and closed-won deals, you came to the right place. Subscribe to the show on YouTube, iTunes, or Spreaker, and be sure to go back and listen to all the episodes for the best strategies, tips, and tactics out there on running a high-performance sales development program. And now, your host, founder, and CEO of Tenbound at tenbound.com, David Delaney.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Sales Development Podcast. I'm your host, David Delaney. I am honored and blessed very much to be joined by our guest today, Ms. Holly Katsman, the Vice President of Account Development and Growth Enablement at HighSpot. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Did I say that right? Because that is a mouthful. Sounds like a big job.
It is, and you said it exactly right.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so if you are not familiar with Holly, I just want to read you the quote from one of her recommendations on LinkedIn, okay? And this is from Shauna, who was Director of Marketing and worked with HighSpot, Holly at HighSpot. So Holly is the heart of every sales and marketing strategic effort made by HighSpot. She's a sales leader that can span marketing, product, and customer success in a single bound. She has spearheaded our company's account-based approach, and in less than a year, she single-handedly built out a first-class, modern, social selling account development team. And it goes on, but wow. Welcome, Holly.
Thank you.
So tell us about, right now you've been at HighSpot for a while. You've been doing a lot of different things over there. What are you working on now? And how did you get into account development, as a practice?
Yeah, absolutely. So working on a couple of things at HighSpot right now. I'm actually leading 3 different teams within our organization. One is the account development team, which is mostly synonymous with what most people, especially on this podcast, hear as sales development. We just take an account-based approach, and so it's account development for us. But that's one team. The second is our growth enablement team, which is focused on enabling all of our customer-facing teams, sales, account development, services, our partner team, even marketing. And then our growth optimization team, which is focused on platform and analytics to optimize the business. So I'm wearing a lot of different hats, but that's one of the amazing things about a startup. And how did I get into account development? Well, I have both a sales and a marketing background, but when I started at HighSpot about 4 years ago, when I joined the team, it was just then the VP of sales and myself that were on both the sales and marketing team, and we were wearing a lot of different hats. And I was playing the sales development role, but the company was only about 14 people. And so, we were learning a lot about our buyers, about the market, watching the space, which is sales enablement, that we're in evolve quite a bit. And, really from taking initiative within the company, really spearheaded building out the account development team about 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, started building it. And now the team's at 44 people. I think we just brought on our 44th person on Monday. So it's been a really, really exciting journey focused around building, high growth, tech company. So that's kind of what I'm focusing on right now.
That's amazing. I mean, and it opens up a lot of opportunities to come in at a startup situation that early and be able to really prove what you can do. And you have to show your value quickly if you only have a few people on the team. It seems.
Exactly.
And I'm really curious, you came in, you were still trying to figure out the market and what appeals to people. And I think a lot of folks struggle with that, when they hire a sales development or account development team and they're just like, hey, go out and find appointments, but they haven't really done that work. So how did you go about, finding out more about the people that would potentially be customers for you? And what was that process like?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think it's just so critical when you're going to be doing any kind of customer facing interaction to have a really deep understanding of who your buyers are, what their needs are, and how, the product or solution that you have can help them accomplish their goals and drive business impact. So if you don't really know who your audience or who your buyer is, then it's really hard to do a lot of the other things. So what I would, absolutely encourage and some of the things that, made me successful in doing that was really doing a lot of research, understanding, who's your ideal customer from maybe an account perspective. As an example, what market segments, what industries are you targeting? What does the profile of that ideal customer look like, all the way to really understanding the different buyer personas within that account or within that company. We all know that there are, I think it's over 7 people on average that are part of the, buying decision process. And it's really important to understand each of those individuals and, what role they play in the buying process. So some tactical things, absolutely look at LinkedIn profiles, look at open job descriptions, and then find, similarities between that and some of the other buyers. There's a lot of information out there today. So I think it's just all about doing, the work up front to do the research and understand the buyer personas, and then make sure that you're really personalizing your messaging when you're doing your outreach.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people want to skip that part and just go to how does my product work? And what are all the little bells and whistles? And then they go out into the marketplace and they just talk about their product. And it's like, at the end of the day, nobody cares because, you're not trying to help me as a person. You're just talking about your product, right? And so, how do you tell us more about the research? Like, how do you go about, say you're trying to learn about your buyer and what would resonate with them, and your buyer's got 20 years of experience in the industry and you just came out of school 3 months ago. How do you go about learning about that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I think that, to the first comment that you had around a lot of people skip that part, it's just so important to not skip that part. Otherwise, a lot of the hard work that, you might be putting in is truly going to waste. I probably get, at least 100, sometimes more prospecting emails per week. And most of them are exactly what you mentioned, kind of just pushing a product, no level of personalization. And, that just kind of, you go into the pool with, all the other 100 people that are reaching out. So, how do you get that, really great level of research? I mean, I think, again, one, it just takes the desire to want to understand your buyer and the desire to understand their needs, having a really genuine level of curiosity and asking a lot of the questions is really what I would say for someone that, let's just say is right out of college or, 1 to 3 years into their first, role or into their career. You don't have to know all the answers. You don't have to be the expert in the specific space that you're selling to. There's a lot of industries that are, very complex, very technical. Of course, the more you know your product, the more that you do know everything, the better off, but you don't have to know everything. So what I'll kind of coach the team on is, treat a lot of it like an informational interview when you get into some of those conversations, asking questions, genuine questions, so that you can understand kind of what their perspective is, what their needs are, those types of things, so that you can give that value instead of leading with, telling them how to do their job. So I would say, really being inquisitive, curious, and, thoughtful in the, questions that you're asking based on the research that you've done.
And I think there's a lot of push and pull in sales development because, the mantra of it is to send out a lot of volume and try to cover as many people as you can and make 1,000 phone calls every day and talk to, all these people and send them millions of emails. But it goes against what actually seems to get results in 2018, which is, actually crafting some kind of message that appeals to your buyer. So, as a leader in this, how do you balance pushing the sales development ADR team to do a lot of activities, but at the same time make those activities quality activities so they actually get some results?
Yeah, I always say quality before quantity, and I know a lot of people out there would probably disagree, but from my perspective and experience and, what we've seen a ton of success when you're just sending out, these batch emails that are not personalized. It's just spam. It's, you're going to go straight to, someone's trash box in their email. And so I think that absolutely there is a level of quality that has to go into this role because it is a numbers game. But I think that as a leader and even as an individual contributor, it's really important to understand what your conversion rates are. You need to be, data informed and understand what that looks like so that you can work, backwards from your goal. It should be the case that, that you have to hit, X amount of, let's just say, SQLs within a month. Well, what's the conversion rate look like from SQLs to, whatever the previous stage is for your business? And then how many activities do you need to do to be able to hit that? There's two ways that you can, increase, your attainment. You can either increase the volume or you can, increase the conversion rate. And so I would highly advocate for focusing more so on increasing the conversion rate and the quality rather than increasing the volume, because it's just a lot of work that's not going to return very many results.
That's a really good point. And so I think that the fear is that there's like the silent sales floor, phenomenon where you walk around and everyone's doing research. And it's like the fear is that you're spending all this time doing research and you take like half a day to send, 2 emails that are super highly customized, but then the person doesn't even respond anyways. And so people seem to go back to like, oh, just screw that. Like, just make 100 phone calls because it it's loud and noisy and stuff like that. But that doesn't really work that well. So it's like, I think to your point, finding the conversion rate is the sweet spot, because then you can know if it takes me half a day to send 2 emails, but they convert at 100%, then that actually makes a lot more sense than doing a bunch of stuff that doesn't convert, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think just generally the thing that I see, far too often are people kind of just trying to like game the system, game the numbers, and they, get really far removed from actually truly understanding the buyer, doing the research, knowing your product really well, taking, the quality time to write an email when that is relevant, taking quality time to write a LinkedIn message when, that's relevant, and picking up the phone, when you have a direct dial and making, leaving a great voicemail. So I think that, if you kind of go to one extreme or the other, right, you say, okay, kind of screw it, we're just going to play this volume game. I'm going to, send a bunch of hundreds and hundreds of emails out per day and just, keep calling people over and over again without putting any real thought into it. You're going to see really low conversion rates. And conversely, if you kind of, make the excuse, hey, well, cold calling doesn't work, or, it's going to take me forever to write these emails, then, you're not going to have enough volume to hit the conversion rate. So I think it's just about wanting to, genuinely, in each touch that you're doing, looking at how is this going to provide value to the person that I'm reaching out to? Do I genuinely think this is going to work? Would I respond to it if I were the buyer? And if it doesn't pass that test, then you're doing something wrong. So I think that it's just less about gaming the system and the numbers and just really about putting out, quality prospecting efforts and quality calls.
Yeah, I mean, and I look at it like sales development is a foundation for the rest of your career, no matter what you end up doing. Because, it's one of the hardest jobs at the company. And, you have to learn to communicate really fast. You got to learn about your market. You got to learn about your product. And you could take that and, invest it. And it's like an investment account for the rest of your career. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, it's one of the toughest jobs. I mean, prospecting can be really, really challenging. It's just, a lot of it is really great time management. A lot of it is, becoming fearless and tenacious in the role. And when you kind of get that point of hesitation where like, should I pick up the phone and call them or should I not? You just go for it and do it, and not being afraid, to fail. It's get in those conversations, ask questions, be curious. And, that lack of confidence is really, I think, what holds people back. And then that's kind of when you have to start compensating by playing the numbers game. Yeah,
exactly. You got to get way out of your comfort zone, but that's where the growth is in life. And,
exactly.
And, anybody who, is coming out and they're not really sure what they want to do, but they're interested in business, I just think sales development is an awesome way to get in to a company and learn a ton of great stuff. And I'm curious, sales enablement is a really hot topic right now, and you're the the leader in this space. So how do people use your product, and how do they use it? Do they use it on sales development and account development as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that our account development team is probably one of the heaviest users of the product. We use it for email templates, we use it for training, we use it for surfacing the right content at the right time. We use it for communication. So we use it for all of our, enablement needs, as do, other tech companies, manufacturing companies, life sciences companies. We have customers all the way from, you know, Inside View, Zendesk, Twilio, Workday, Amazon, Aetna. So there's a lot of companies that are, leveraging HighSpot for their, enablement needs. I think that one of the really, cool things about enablement in general, but also kind of how technology fits into enablement is that, the landscape for selling and for buying has, drastically changed. And, we know that we shouldn't be pushing products. We need to be, educating our buyers, providing value-driven insights. And a large, way that you do that is, by providing insightful content, articles, so on and so forth, which actually makes it a heck of a lot easier in the, prospecting process when, maybe you've sent out 100 emails, you can see that, let's say 40 people have opened the email, but you don't really have any, additional insights into how to prioritize those 40 individuals. If you're sending out content and you can track that engagement, it gives you a deeper level of insights into what the engagement looks like, which gives you also, more material, if you will, to follow up with, because you can kind of see what interested them, what they maybe didn't look at, and how to prioritize your follow-ups.
Oh, nice. Okay, so that's something that your product does as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
interesting. Okay, because I'm going to date myself, but I sold sales training programs for 7 years earlier in my career, and this was before like the sales enablement thing came out. Like we were talking like workbooks and binders and pens and stuff like that. It was really yeah. I'm not going to tell you when that was. That was a long time ago. But like so, sales enablement is like tell us about sales enablement. What is sales enablement? Like it's more than sales training, right? It's plugged into your Salesforce and, it's in your workflow and you can push out updates and all that stuff. But you tell us about it because I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, I mean, the way that we think about sales enablement is there's a couple different layers. At the core, you have to have, really great content management. And this is more from a technology perspective. I can kind of talk from a function perspective as well, but you have to have really great content management because all of the knowledge, information, whether it's customer facing content, whether it's training content like a battle card, needs to be easily accessible for customer facing teams. And we all know that most organizations have content all over the place and they're not making it very easy on, the poor salespeople or, SDRs having to, waste additional selling time going and having to find that. So that's kind of one element of it. But the next piece is then providing really a layer of guidance along with that content, because we see so often that content gets thrown over to sales. Here's the training, here's the battle card, or here's, the white paper. But great, how am I supposed to use this? What am I supposed to do with it? What am I supposed to say? And so really great sales enablement should not just, provide the right content and training at the right time, but it should provide some guidance and some context on how and when to use it. And it should leverage, the amazing technology innovations that we have today around machine learning, around AI to, show what is the most successful, action for me to take, whether it's, talking points for a specific competitor, whether it's talking about a new product launch, what, case studies should I reference, those types of things. And, to really get that full circle analytics to see, okay, is what I'm doing working or is it not? You want to be able to track that buyer engagement. So really the way that we look at it is having great content management, that layer of guidance around the content, and then enabling the salesperson to take the content and share it out in one place. You can share it out through multiple channels. You can share it out, through email, through social, through web conferencing, and you can personalize it for that specific buyer. And I think really the net of it is that there's been so much technology that has been, created and pushed out there that's for pretty much everyone but the salesperson. And we're making it really hard on them to actually go and do their job. And what we're seeing is that it's really, transitioning to this need to enable the sellers, making them efficient and effective and making it easy for them to know, what to say, when to say it, and then let them do, the hardest part, which is the selling. So that's kind of how we think about it. That's how a lot of our customers are using the platform. I think from, an enablement perspective as a function and kind of, where it's going in the future, some of the things that are really cool about it is that, you're kind of seeing the sales, drop from sales enablement, right? It's not just sales that is, a customer facing team. SDRs or sales development is a great example of that. Are we not enabling our SDRs or our sales development teams? Are we not enabling our partner sellers or our services teams? And so enablement's becoming a lot more strategic in nature and is, focused on enabling all customer facing teams, not just sales, which I think is really great for all those SDRs out there. It's, not out on a lonely island prospecting anymore. It should be the case that, you're getting a lot of the insights on your buyers, on the messaging, on the competitive differentiation, on the email templates, from, your organization. And then you kind of take it from there and then personalize it based on the specific individual that you're talking about. So I think it's a really exciting time for the space. I think it's a really exciting time to be, in sales. So yeah, it's been great.
I agree. And so take me through, like, say I just graduated from college. This is back in the Stone Age, but I just graduated from college. I got an ADR job with you and your organization. I come in on the first day. So I'm just thinking, in the old days, we used to, hand them this big binder that was the playbook, right? And it's like a bunch of pages all stuck together. And, or there's a playbook in the Google Docs, go reference that. It's just a bunch of decks and product marketing pitches and stuff that's thrown in together, right? And it's okay, so review that and let's meet up and then get on the phone, that was pretty much it. So what do you guys do so that the ADR has everything they need to be successful?
Well, yeah, I think that the question that you're asking is really relevant because I think that, if I were just graduating from college, that would be a very, very important question that I would ask in the interview process. Sales development teams are, very, very different. It's not a one size fits all. So I think that, a big piece of advice would be to really understand how the function is organized within the company that you may be interviewing at. Yes. What do the success metrics look like? What is the career path for growth? What does the training look like? So those are all really important questions. We could probably talk a long time on that, but to answer your question, it is absolutely the case that, when someone walks in graduating from college, if you hand them a big book and ask them to go and read and memorize anything, it's like, I just graduated from college. Are you really going to make me go and read a bunch of stuff again and memorize it and then expect to use it? That's why I'm, here in the workplace. So I don't think that people want to be quizzed. I don't think that they want to be tested. I think that's more for the benefit of, other people, which is, take it or leave it. But if you were to, come in and join HighSpot, everything is extremely collaborative, extremely interactive. So we go through and make sure that there is a really deep understanding of our industry, of our buyers, of our competitors, of our product. It is absolutely the case that every single ADR on my team can do a product demo. They have full visibility into the entire sales process, which I think is so important from not only a skill development perspective, but also from a career growth perspective. So it's really all about spending the first couple of weeks doing, really in-depth training in a collaborative, interactive way, rather than just handing over, a book around all of those elements. And then it's all about the ongoing training. I've heard so many leaders say oh, it's so expensive to, take, an SDR off the sales floor to do training or anything like that. No, it's not if it's actually going to make them more effective and more efficient in their role. But if you're going to do it to, give them a test, then yeah, it's probably not a really good use of time. So we really focus on that ongoing training, especially for us, because we're such a high growth technology company and we're, developing features and capabilities, every 6 to 8 weeks. We absolutely have to make sure that the team is constantly trained, constantly knows, what's going on in our market, what the new features are that we have, so on and so forth. So I think that it's just really a commitment to having a learning environment and making the investment in actually educating the team on, what a win looks like for the company, not just, to set up a meeting.
Definitely. And so, the way that people use Playbooks, it's almost like it's out of date the day that it's published because and so what I'm envisioning is with your company is it's constantly being updated by someone. It's always the freshest material because it's online and it's put in front of them in a way and I don't know, I've never even used your product, so I don't even know what I'm talking about. But like, if I could invent something that's better than a dusty old SDR playbook that nobody's using, it would be like, it's more millennial.
It's like a play.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a play, and it's dynamically linked to all the content, all the resources, so that it doesn't even take someone having to go in and, update that specific play. They're automatically updated when all of the source materials are. But again, like, the salesperson doesn't even need to know about that. They don't care about it. They're like, I just need to know what I'm supposed to be saying in this specific scenario. So, the whole goal is, when you're in that selling scenario, you're about to jump on a call and, it's a competitive deal. Do you have easy and quick access to all the information and all the guidance that you need to be able to go and have that conversation? And so we've really done away with that, traditional sales playbook that is 100 pages long. Maybe it's in a 3-ring binder, maybe it's in a PDF document, same, to be completely honest, and really breaking it up into bite-sized plays that are, oriented around specific scenarios, and making sure that, again, there's easy access in that specific selling scenario.
I know. I always do this on this podcast, but it's not meant to be a commercial or anything like that. Yeah. I'm just honestly interested. I know that you have a lot of competitors. I won't mention any of them, but this isn't meant to be a commercial. I'm just very interested in this because I just feel like, things have changed so much in the last 5 years, just 5 years. I mean, there's so much information out there. It's all in different places. And it's like, it's not within the workflow of what is useful to you at the moment. I think that's the missing link that companies like yours are trying to solve for our community.
Yeah. And it's funny that you're even saying that because, I started out, as an individual contributor at the company, but, then was, hands, very busy building and scaling the account development team. But, now leading the enablement team within our organization, the reason that that's kind of come to fruition is just because, just as we're talking about it right now, I'm just really passionate about that, of course, from the product perspective, but I would say more because it's, about developing next generation leaders, and are you creating a culture of learning and development? And if you don't have great enablement, technology or not, then, it's impossible to develop those, individuals into, world-class sales executives or, world-class leaders. And so, now leading the enablement team, internally within our own organization has, come up for, exactly what you're talking about, just because I'm really passionate about the function, the topic, kind of where it's going. And then, it's a really great benefit that we have an amazing product that, helps execute everything.
Yeah, exactly. And not to get on a soapbox, but I'm in Silicon Valley and it's such a brotopia. There was actually a book that came out called Brotopia by Emily Chang. And I wanted to get her to come to the sales development conference and do a speech and, go through her findings in the book. But it cost a ridiculous amount of money for her to come and sell her book. And not that I'm anything against that, but it did seem a little bit weird that she would charge me so much. So anyway, so we did a panel called the Unspoken Truths about sales development. And one of the things, and it's free, it's on the Tenbound YouTube site. Everybody should go check it out. And one of the things that is cool about sales development is that we have the ability right now, right today, to bring more diversity to the tech industry with the sales development. And the thing about sales development is it doesn't matter what your background is. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like. If you are listening to this advice, that Hallie's giving you and using it, you could be super successful. And so it's like, we're doing a meetup in Boston on November 14th. Everybody, if you're in Boston, you should be there, called Driving Diversity in Sales Development, because this is our opportunity to actually make a difference in our industry in that, it doesn't matter like who you are, and any hiring manager that listen to this, it's, you give people a chance to do this. And especially if you plug in something like HighSpot so that they have a chance to actually learn and get good at their job, we can open up the field. So sorry, I'm on a soapbox, but I think we have a great opportunity right now, to get out of, like, you walk around San Francisco and it's like it's like dudes in Patagonia, vests. I mean, it's such a stereotype. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
We gotta get in front of this. So anyways, yeah.
No, I mean, I think there's a couple elements to it. I mean, one is I absolutely encourage, anyone that is interested in any go-to-market customer-facing team to, start out in this type of role. Again, do your due diligence when you are interviewing at organizations. But I also think that, it's really up to, organizations and leaders to make sure that there is a clear career path for people that are on the sales development and on the account development team. I've had an insane amount of promotions from, my account development team to other areas within our business, services, sales engineer, AM, AE, enablement, analytics, leadership. So, because of that inherently is going to draw, a different talent pool into, the organization, because we are committed to, developing them as, individuals and giving them a career path. It's not just that, if you start on, the team, there's, 1 in 10 chance that you're going to make it. And the only path for you is, as an account executive. I mean, if that's the only path, then it's going to draw, a certain type of audience. So I think that, I absolutely encourage anyone and everyone, again, that, wants to be part of a customer facing team to start out in this. But I also, will, say that it's really up to a lot of the leaders within these organizations to make that commitment to the diversity, but also not just bringing people within their organizations, but also making sure that there is, that career path for them and that you're developing their skills as well as their careers.
Yeah, and I mean, you just in the time that you've been there, and I mean, you got into a company that was going places and was in a good spot, good people. So you got a lot of opportunities. But I'm curious, beyond the account development, and we only have a couple more minutes, but tell us about the growth side that you're working on and the other thing that you mentioned, because that's really interesting too.
Yeah, it is. I think that because of the way that we have structured our organization, so account development does not roll up under marketing or sales. It's its own strategic function. I sit next to our head of marketing. I sit next to our head of sales. Yeah, exactly. I report up to our CEO. So it's much more of a strategic function. And because of that, and I would say just because of, the initiative and the curiosity that I have, and really the passion for the product and the market that we're in, understanding not just how does account development execute, but is what we're putting into our pipeline going to be what is going to drive, quality deals closing? And are we going to have, high customer retention and high lifetime value? And when you look at that from more of a strategic perspective, you're really looking at growth. So how can we optimize the business, whether it's, increasing conversions, increasing velocity, refining what the ideal customer profile looks like, those types of things, or whether it's enabling the overall go-to-market strategy within those customer-facing teams. And so growth really is, for us, a centralized function. And because, I had such a deep understanding of, the buyer, the product, the market, as well as, the breadth across lots of different areas of our business, because account development is more strategic, that made it, a really great opportunity to, focus on the growth area of our organization. And so I think that, again, I've seen so many companies where sales development flips back and forth between sales and marketing. And I would, highly encourage companies to, really not look at it as like an assistant function, and to really look at it as more strategic. And when you do that, you're going to bring in a higher level of talent. You're going to be able to develop leaders within your organization, and you're going to get better results throughout your entire pipeline. Oh
my God. Okay. Call it cognitive bias, but I really like people that agree with me. And so I really like everything that you're saying. I want to send you the keynotes from last year's conference and this year's conference that was on August 30th, because I think, ladies and gentlemen, I think we have found the first chief sales development officer right here. You heard it on 2018. Because we're like so on the same page on this. I think that people are missing a huge opportunity by not realizing what sales development really is and how strategic it can be for an organization. And literally, like, the only like raucous applause that I got from the keynote at the conference was when I said, this is the dawn of the chief sales development officer. You will see this position within the next 5 years. Because it was, 350 people who were in sales development. So they're like, I want to be that person. So, or something like that. So, but I think we got it here. So anyways, thank you so much for being on the show. I want to continue talking to you. I want to interview you more when you get back from London. But I just can't thank you enough for your time and sharing your wisdom with our audience.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, David. It's been really fun talking today.
Yeah, definitely. Find her on LinkedIn and be sure to connect everybody. Thanks for joining us on the Sales Development Podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Development Podcast, the only audio forum 100% focused and dedicated to sales development, with your host, David Delaney. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube and take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes. Your support makes our show possible. If you are struggling with your sales development program, contact us at tenbound.com for a no-obligation exploratory call. Again, that's tenbound.com.